Hello everybody. I know what you're thinking. Why am I playing this game again? Haven't I LP'd this game like twice already? Well, yes. The first time, if you recall, it was the first time I had LP'd a Game Boy game, and so I didn't really know exactly how to do it right, and so what I got was a really horrible desync that was going on throughout that whole thing. It sounded terrible. I was not happy with how it came out. And then I did like just a long play with no commentary at all, so I decided I was going to LP the Megaman Game Boy games again, and hopefully this time we'll do them a lot more justice, because I actually like the Mega Man Game Boy games. I know they don't get a whole lot of as much love as the NES games. Anyways, let's get started. Yes, contrary to the NES Mega Man 1, Electman's actually a pretty good choice to go after first. His stage starts off a little dull. I should have cleared that. Not much going on except our good friends the Yoku blocks and those little electrical barriers. And the fans in some spots can make it a little tricky. Now, one interesting thing about these is that development of these games was actually outsourced to a different developer, sort of like a. It wasn't. It was probably the. Whoa, that is some serious lag going on. Anyways, rather than being developed in-house by Capcom, it was outsourced to. Oh, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I'll probably have to look it up sometime. But it was the first Mega Man game to receive that treatment. They did a pretty good job of converting it, too. Bringing the whole Mega Man experience to the Game Boy. I know some people have criticized it a little bit because of the larger sprites on the Game Boy screen. Kind of makes things feel a little bit more cramped. But I think it's not a bad sacrifice for making it on the Game Boy, as opposed to what they did for the second game, which we'll be getting to later. I always hated that little climb. Big guys are extra annoying because you can only shoot them when they're in mid-jump. But at least they take fewer hits than they did in the first game. And here we are. Like I said, Electman's a lot easier than he was in the NES game. Oops. I was gonna say you can usually force them into a pattern here, where you pretty much just leapfrog each other. Just like that. Alright, we get the Thunder Beam. It's a little nerfed compared to how it was in the NES game, but it still gets the job done. The weakness order is pretty similar to what it was in the NES games. Oops. Those Susies take a lot more hits than they look like they should. Got a new obstacle here. These ice blocks melt if you stand on them. So you have to haul ass across them. As you can see, the Thunder Beams, rather than just being a straight one-shot kill, it deals a little less damage, although the way it passes through enemies, sometimes it can hit them multiple times. Don't know why I'm bothering to kill these guys. And just jump over them. And like before, Iceman goes down in just 3 hits from the Thunder Beam. His Ice Slasher still deals a ton of damage, so still can't underestimate him too much. Ice Slasher works just as it did before. Very nice weapon. And we're ready for Fireman's level. These fireball guys, Chankeys I think they're called, they work a lot differently. They just fall from those little chutes. And we got these guys from Megaman 2 here. Nice how they incorporated some elements of Megaman 2. And they're in a stage where they actually make sense. Because before they were in Quickman's level. Odd that they would put them there and not in, say, Heatman's level. Freezing that up. And that just Got rid of any progress there. Probably the best way to deal with these guys is just freeze them first. Sometimes the way the arc on that wants to curve, it'll just pass right over some enemies. Ah, yes, these things. Again, best just freeze them. Yeah, gauntlet of these guys. But now we're finally at Fireman. He seems a lot easier than he was in the NES game, because he just shoots one fireball at a time, and they don't set the floor on fire. Firestorm we get from him still a really nice weapon, though. And last but not least, Cutman. There's a new enemy, those cutting wheels. Usually you wanna keep your distance from them, because if you get too close, they drop down and start going ape shit. This level's a very different one from the NES game. Even incorporates Metal Man's conveyor belts. Yeah, sometimes it's better just to avoid these things. Ice Slash is a good way of dealing with the Sniper Joes, too. Just freeze them once they put their shield down. Same for these cutters. Can't destroy them, so you can only avoid those. Best just freeze them once they get by you. And again with the big eyes. quite noticeable that Mega Man fires a lot slower in these games. Anyways, here we are, Cutman. He actually seems a lot harder than he was in the NES game, since he doesn't get knocked back by your Mega Buster, and he doesn't take as much damage as he did from it. Like he'd take one Mega Buster shot would take off 3 units of health in the NES game, and he'd take knockback from it. It was ridiculous. Here he's a lot harder, but the rolling cutter is a lot more useful than it was in the NES game, because it travels in a tighter arc, so it's easier to aim, and it deals a ton of damage. Okay, we're just left with Dr. Wily then. So, we'll take on Wily's Fortress next time. See you guys later.
I'm playing a game.